Yes, so it's my pleasure to welcome His Eminence Archbishop Angaelos, Coptic Orthodox Archbishop of London since 2017 and United Kingdom. There are three things I'd like to say about the Archbishop among so many. The first one is he's widely recognized for his advocacy work at international level with religious freedom, development work, and asylum advocacy. Secondly, he's a leading figure in ecumenism. And thirdly, works in partnership with all party parliamentary groups on international freedom and belief. So we couldn't have gotten a better speaker than His Eminence, Archbishop Angaelos. Archbishop, kindly take the floor and address us.
Doctor, thank you very much for your very kind invitation. I'm very humbled to be with you, and it is a pleasure and a blessing not to have to discuss these painful developments, but to be amongst people who have a heart for others, some of whom they may not even know. The first thing I need to say is that this is a very impassioned issue, and I've been doing advocacy work for the past 20 years, and I must say on my Twitter feed I have never received such feedback, predominantly good but some very hostile, as I have on this issue, which means to me that it is an issue of immense importance to many. The second is that I have always been inspired by our the Ethiopian Orthodox sisters and brothers, both in Ethiopia and around the world, with whom I've dealt for 30 years. And I'm always inspired by their faithfulness, the seriousness with which they take their spiritual practice, the place of the church in their lives, and the essence of that spirituality they bring into the world through their own dealings. Putting those two components together, I think, makes it very important for us to speak together and to not take sides. Because at the end of the day, we are talking about people who are suffering. And especially when we're talking about religious leaders, holy places, and heritage. This is the actual being of people. This is at the core of their identity and who they are. The churches have always been a safe place, a safe space, a place of refuge, a place of pilgrimage. And to hear from many sources of the destruction of churches is incredibly painful, especially that we know that these churches have been there for centuries. And they present much more than buildings, much more than stones. They are a part of people's heritage and life and witness and faith. And so to see these places destroyed is incredibly painful. But even more so is the destruction of the heritage that is encapsulated by these places. A heritage of spirituality and worship, a heritage of benevolence, a heritage of family. So many things that the world seeks now, and yet they have been there for centuries, and we see them being destroyed. And even more distressing is the attack on religious leaders, pillars of faith and examples of lived faith in the world. I believe that we must speak together. I encourage all my sisters and brothers on this call, no matter which supposed side you think you are on, to recognize that there is a humanitarian challenge at the moment. As I've said on numerous occasions, I very much hope that this is all fake news. I hope that all of these videos are contrived. I hope that there is no truth to any of this. But the overwhelming proof is that this is not the case. The overwhelming proof is that there is destruction. There has been a use of brutality, even rape and sexual attacks. And this is, of course, in the Tigray area, but as I've also been reminded, and I humbly take that on board, my sisters and brothers in Ethiopia, there are also other attacks across Ethiopia. Tigray is a region in Ethiopia, and the people of Ethiopia we know are one, and they must stand as one at this time. Far from me to be speaking to my sisters and brothers and telling them what to do, but in our own experiences in the Coptic Orthodox Church, we have faced tyranny. We have faced those who have tried to remove the Pope of our church in the 80s, and they failed. We have lived, and sometimes still do live, situations where the church is instrumentalized. We know the pressures, we understand. And yet, in standing together faithfully for what is right, for sisters and brothers, not seeing they are of this tribe or that, because humanity is guilty of tribalism. And I don't mean just in the very literal terminology of tribes. I mean our own tribalism even in the world, in the Western world. And we do not want to have that tribalism. We believe in the sanctity of life and human dignity created by God and given to every individual equally. Those are merely enshrined in international treaties and laws, but they are given by God to every person. I wish you every blessing for this webinar, every blessing for the words we speak. I pray that they are spoken with grace, with love, with a desire for solution and not antagonism, and with a focus very firmly on those who are suffering, not just on us who are sitting in the comfort of our own offices in front of our own computers, but those who are suffering daily. God bless you all, and we pray for the people of Tigray and the whole of Ethiopia, and we pray for all of you that this may be another step towards what is good for them and what safeguards them in a very painful situation.
Thank you so much, Your Eminence. Those words are very inspiring. And let us join with you in that prayer so that we can get to some point of reconciliation, or even begin at those very, very tentative steps of even thinking that such a thing can happen. It's very important that we maintain hope in this dark space. And when things are heard and when voices are heard, things can happen. Things can change. They must be heard.